Thank you for having me here
Absolutely.
today.
Well, thank you. And so we've heard a lot already this morning, and you see on the screen about this new blueprint for business, as if business is fundamentally changing. What does that mean to you? What do you see as the role for business going forward, and how does that unique role set you up for that new blueprint?
Well, I think it's a little bit of a theme of you heard from the last two speakers. It's how does business change its own mindset to thinking about how do you run a business for the next quarter century versus for the next quarter. PR needs to be about transparency and telling the truth. It's the truth seekers who have to then say what the business isn't doing well, and then how do you actually fix those things, and putting that journey in place. How do you actually start to get others involved in the journey and use that voice of the company to make it a wider discussion? And so it was interesting because I do believe that today companies and brands have to take a voice, because really companies are a collection of people who work in your business. We're not, robots. We're human beings. And if we want our planet to be here for our children and the next generation, and I care deeply about my own 2 children, right? I want them to actually go to work every day and have a difference being made in their lives, and for our planet to still be here for them, where they can breathe clean air. They know that they can actually go out and enjoy the parks and the playgrounds, that there is this quality of life for humanity that exists because companies use their voice to make it better. And then world without waste. You cannot have a beverage without water. You cannot have a beverage without delivering in some sort of vehicle. Packaging. We know that this world has a plastic pollution problem. We know that. This has been something that I know Aaron had me here years ago. I have a deep personal passion for recycling and for packaging, because we have to solve this packaging waste problem, because you need to eliminate single-use plastics. They have to go away. But let's go ahead and do World Without Waste and get infrastructure in place, partner with governments, partner with NGOs, and start investing in R&D in terms of new materials. To put the tension into our business. I like the tension. Some people think I'm crazy, but I think it makes us better. I mean, I like sports, and I think about sports. How fun would a Super Bowl be if there were 2 teams that were on the same side? You wouldn't have a Super Bowl, right? And so, but they still walk out of there as friends. It's not, they're still winning in terms of their sport, but there's that natural tension to make the winners win stronger, and to take the folks who need to improve and make them think about how they can run better plays to get smarter at the game. But it's really important for companies to understand what are their values and what are they going to stand up for, and then have the debates and have the conversations when people want to argue with you. There's nothing wrong with healthy debate, right? That's what makes it all better.
Absolutely. Well, thank you.
Mr. Scott Smith. I'm the founder and inventor of OpFlex technology. Scott's been to every major oil spill in the last 10 years. Been to so many oil spills that he's earned the nickname the Toxic Avenger.
He's a superhero.
Good afternoon. Today we're going to talk about innovative products for personal protective equipment in these challenging times, and how we have gone to market and what we have learned, especially with a public that is very skeptical of science. And the importance in introducing PPE is to have third-party validation in science you can trust. You must have science you can trust without any political influence to really get to the consumer and grow it. Now, we have a long way to go in educating the public. It is a scientific fact, irrefutable, that single-use paper towels deactivate disinfectant, leaving live germs on surfaces. Think about that. We're going to talk about that today. In the context of the Delta variant and the additional mask mandates, you think about the droplets are 1,000 times more infectious. Before I give a talk like this, I always check with a 6th grader and a PhD to make sure gravity is still around. So when these droplets that are 1,000 times more infectious hit the surface, they don't magically disappear. They don't magically become uninfectious. And we believe so much in sustainability without compromise, we trademarked. Let me tell you what that means. That means with this technology and these products and the future of sustainability is not only can you have the best available technology to sustain you and your family's health, but it's the best available technology to sustain the environment. Now, a lot of people talk about sustainability, but it's about walking the walk. Sustainability without compromise when it comes to reusability and the environment may impact short-term profits. We don't care about short-term profits. We care about the future and doing what is right in building a business. And you will see today, true stories, sustainability without compromise. This is the same technology that was endorsed by BP in 2010. And oil spill contractors told me over the years, Scott, we can't use your technology. We'll lose 80% of our revenue. We own the landfills. We don't want a reusable product. And I get that. And even in some of the tax-exempt corporation or the nonprofit space, people have said, well, if we solve the problem in the environmental space, we're not going to get taxpayer funding anymore. A good friend of mine taught me a few years ago that sometimes you have to make people feel a little uncomfortable, and that's where we are with sustainability. And I get it. You know, people earn livings and all, but that's what our core element is, sustainability without compromise. And you're going to see a lot of examples of that today. Talk about why this is a little personal to me. I've been in over 60 disasters, starting with my own, with my factory that was wiped out in basically most of my life in my business in 2006 in oil-contaminated floodwaters. And I became a little obsessed with oil and water, put everything on the line, rebuilt the business. Well, and since then, I started going to disasters, and you hear an expression out there that real-world disasters are my laboratory. I proved the technology out in the real world. So in May of 2020, my daughter, frontline worker, social services director, nursing home on Cape Cod, full PPE gear every day, N95 mask, along with over half of the staff, got a severe case of COVID. So I approached this just like it was the 61st disaster, another environmental disaster. And what I do is I work with experts. So I reached out and I found Daryl Hicks, one of the leading surface disinfection experts. I thought I'd seen it all in all the disasters, in testing reports, but he taught me something about quat binding and the fact that paper towels deactivate disinfectant. Many of the frontline workers, not just at my daughter's nursing home, are being infected. You don't necessarily read about it, but yes, masks are important. Yes, this virus gets transmitted by droplets in the air, but surfaces are a real problem. And you talk about sustainability without compromise, and I get it. Nursing homes, hospitals, grocery stores, restaurants, where I live in Cape Cod, said, well, we really can't afford to disinfect properly and follow the CDC, EPA regulations. We kind of just use the paper towels for the public perception. To me, that needs to be challenged. Now, we hear a lot about the CDC. Would this surprise anybody to know that this right on the CDC website? There's something called the FIFRA Act of 1947, the Federal Insecticide, Fungicide, and Rodenticide Act. It's a violation of federal law to use this product in a manner inconsistent with its labeling. These disinfectants, the minute you combine them with paper towels or cotton rags, it deactivates the disinfectant and it goes off label. And very simple, cotton rags and paper towels have a negative ionic charge. Disinfectant's positive. They cancel each other out. And we'll get to this material, the biofoam, has a neutral. It does not have an ionic charge. That's why it can carry the disinfectant with its surface area and substantially lower the risk of surface contamination. Like I said, this is about science you can trust. It's not political. So that what is quat binding and why it must be prevented, you click on that and that'll go into all the science and the details that you need. So what I learned from my personal experience, I'm used to going into environmental disasters where you have to test the product, go to all these labs, wait 2 weeks for results. I'm still blown away after going on for a year that I talked to Daryl Hicks. And you can buy these quat strips from Amazon for like $8. So I started going into grocery stores, restaurants, local places, and doing this. And if you're below 200, all that, you know, again, the scientific links can explain all the details. But right there, look at that quote. The quat disinfectant is off-label and in violation of federal law. So I started testing and mapping out all these places. Again, we're in this to educate people, not get people in trouble, because most of the time they simply don't know. It's all about education. And I couldn't find any grocery store, restaurant, hospital, nursing home, every place I visited, not just on Cape Cod, but everywhere, that was in compliance. And we're living in an environment where we have all these mandates, but no one has paid attention to the existing law. Mapping the route of infection. Even with our masks on, you touch your face between 15 and 20 times an hour. So again, back to the Delta variant, 1,000 times more infectious. Droplets fall into gravity, touching your face and spreading. Again, it's all about education. Published research, largely ignored in the United States. Droplet evaporation residue, how it spreads. I've talked to all the scientists. Droplets do not disappear with evaporation. More than 24 hours. Infectious for prolonged durations after deposition. Now, maybe we just need to get kindergartners, first graders, third graders involved. Maybe that will spark the mass education we need to do to help the public. Because so far, it really hasn't happened. So then I went into my kitchen when all this was going on and had the baseline disinfectant without getting into all the detailed science, 800 to 1,000 ppm. So the paper towel, brought it down to 100. The minute it hit the paper towel. Now, the biofoam, the open cell foam infused with this did not deactivate the disinfectant at all. Again, simple science, science you can trust. I've been criticized by some prior partnerships that, Scott, your material's too durable and reusable. And I'm like, well, you either believe in sustainability or you don't. Hence, that's why I came up with sustainability without compromise. This is BP, status quo of, the guy I worked with at BP. BP was great, they endorsed it. Status quo of inaction, no longer sustainable. Think about these bins just filling full of material. Single-use plastics that don't biodegrade, going to landfills, not getting the oil out of the water. Now, we're working on some videos right now. Single-use paper towels filling dumpsters. Think about all the carbon being used when you're not even disinfecting. Thank you.